This is Next Century Studios.
Hello, welcome to Everyday Success. I'm your host, Ron Laker. This show is designed to inspire you to achieve whatever it is you want in life. Today, we have a very special guest, Steve Gavatorta, who is a communication expert and the author of The Reach Out Approach. Steve, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure, Ron. Glad to be here.
And we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, first and foremost, I'll go really far back. Originally, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so I call out to all the Steeler fans out there. Hope I'm not turning off your Packers fans, but I had to throw that plug in there. But originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a little town called Burgettstown, Pennsylvania, and that's where I was born and raised. I went to a small liberal arts school in Meadville, Pennsylvania called Allegheny College. Strangely enough, we were called the Gators. We were in the middle of the snow belt, but we were called the Gators. And graduated with a BS in economics. Excellent school, taught you how to write, really taught you how to think, and I'm very fortunate I went there. Then my first job out of college, I started my first job out of college just 2 weeks after graduating. No European trips, nothing like that. And started my first job out of college with a company called Beecham Products. Beecham Products is now the consumer brands division of GlaxoSmithKline, consumer healthcare basically. So I sold everything from toothpaste to antacids to feminine hygiene products, a little bit of everything. But I was very fortunate to start off with Beecham because in the day, all the upper level management at Beecham were former Procter & Gamble people. So it was really the cream of the crop with regard to training and development that you can possibly have. So I was unbelievably fortunate to start off at Beecham Products. Spent about 10 years there really doing all kinds of jobs, sales, management, training, marketing, and like I said, spent 10 years there. Left them and went with Warner Lambert and spent about 5 years there. Same type of product line, just the competing products from Beecham. Spent a little time with a company based in St. Pete, Florida called Catalina Marketing. Then ended my career with Eastman Kodak. And that's kind of my background. I've had a passion because of my time at Beecham Products, a passion for training. And what really drove me was towards the business now is that passion for training and seeing as my career progressed through those 18 years in the consumer packaged goods industry that training was kind of falling out of bed and companies weren't spending as much time and effort against that. So it really prompted me to start looking into starting my own consulting business, which I've owned Steve Gavatorta Group for about 8 years.
How did you become known as a communication skills expert in your area?
Yeah, as I said, I really got frustrated with some of the lack of training that was occurring later in my career because companies just weren't investing anymore. And I'd be sitting in workshops with all of my colleagues and consultants would come in and they'd start giving us a training workshop on something that wasn't practical nor relevant to our business. So we're thinking, we're in this training and we're not going to use it, it's not going to be relevant, what are we even here for? Then I found out what some of these consultants were making, and I started thinking maybe I should get in this field myself. So that's how I started really thinking about maybe I need to transition out of corporate and become a consultant and do training for companies like I'm in now, because I know two things I deliver for sure: a practical skill set in a real world environment. And I really became focused on communication skills because I thought that was lacking in organizations. And I ultimately became certified in various assessments that really help people learn how to better communicate. And I've really built that program out and really to a point where I think I can differentiate myself versus a lot of other companies that do communication skills programs because my approach is both practical. People that attend my communication skills workshops are going to learn a practical skill set, and it's going to be tied to their respective real-world environment.
Okay. You mentioned in your book, Reach Out Approach, often about becoming an effective communicator. Tell us a little bit about what that means to you to become an effective communicator.
Right. When I say effective communication, I don't necessarily mean broadly giving a speech or anything like that. I mean a one-on-one interaction, connecting with people on a one-on-one basis, understanding how they communicate, of course, how they behave, how they're motivated, how they make decisions, and how they deal with things such as change, risk-taking, and conflict. If I can understand those attributes in myself, and I can understand those same attributes in someone I'm interacting with like you now, I'm going to be able to better connect and communicate with you or the other person. So let's say if I'm in a sales role, and I'm very gregarious, talkative, outgoing, I'm a risk taker, I want you to really buy my product, and you're my customer. And you're not a risk taker. You're very analytical. You're more introverted. You're more, you like numbers. You don't want to make a quick decision. There's a good chance that I'm going to rub raw on you. So if I understand that about myself and you, I'm going to be able to better adapt my style to make you feel more comfortable with the recommendation I'm trying to make. Does that kind of make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, in today's fast-paced world, and we've got all kinds of digital media, we've got all kinds of television space, we've got all kinds of print media, we've got all kinds of different areas of media. Being an important and effective communicator today is more important than ever. What do you think about that? Tell us a little bit about your thoughts.
Yeah, that's what I talk about. I say we are in a fast-paced, high-tech, low-touch world. I mean, technology is everywhere. With the internet, text messaging, emailing, I think we're really forgetting the art of one-on-one human interaction. And listen, text messaging, using emails, fine, but it's not a substitute for important decisions that revolve around a connection with someone. In a sales role, you can't text your client to get an order, or leading a team, you can't email and have everybody follow you. You've got to be able to make those one-on-one connections. And that's why I think today in this world, effective communicators, people that can effectively make those connections, is a differentiating point going forward, and it's going to be more so as technology becomes much more advanced. You know, I tell people the 21st century has been loaded with change. Strangely enough, unfortunately enough, I should say, what happens oftentimes during times of change is a lot of ambiguity comes about because people aren't communicating, they don't embrace change, they don't know what to do about the change, so ambiguity manifests. And unfortunately, after that, adversity will manifest out of that ambiguity because people aren't taking risk. They don't know what to do because of all the change that's going on. They didn't embrace it. So when you're an effective communicator, you can very much smooth that gap of changing times by being a good communicator, understanding how your team or your people you're leading deal with change and help minimize an ambiguity, which in turn will minimize the adversity that will happen as well too. So I think effective communication now is a key differentiating point for people and companies.
Okay. And you state the most important element in any relationship is trust. Absolutely. To build the foundation for good communications. Absolutely. Share a little of your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Well, trust, let's face it, whether you're in a personal relationship with a spouse or a girlfriend, boyfriend, I mean, if you don't have trust, your relationship's not going to grow, just like a foundation of a house. Same in business. If your customers don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. If your team doesn't trust you, they are not going to follow you. It's as simple as that. So trust is the foundational element, as I said, of any relationship. I firmly believe that effective communication, in the way we've defined it, is the pathway to establishing and keeping trust. And I walk people through a process. I tell them you first must connect with someone before you can deeply engage with them. Then you must engage with them before you can build rapport. Then you must build rapport before you can even become credible. And then you must be credible before you can be trusted. And then the work I do, I help people walk through that process. I help them make that connection so they can engage in deeper relationships. Then I help them, once they have that relationship, build rapport. Then once they have that rapport, build credibility, which in turn will build that foundation to trust.
And this three-step process is the basis of the foundation of how you communicate with your relationships, your clients, your business, your personal relationships.
Yeah, with all my work I do, my work focuses on two different areas. One is practical application, then real-world application, as I've mentioned previously. The practical application side speaks to those three steps. I'm certified in various assessments. I'm DISC certified, it's a behavioral assessment. I'm Myers-Briggs certified. I'm also certified in bar on EQ as well too. But I use these assessments for this three-step process of learn, read, and adapt. Let's take the DISC behavioral assessment. That's DISC for the viewers. And DISC is an acronym for the 4 behavior styles. D stands for dominance, I stands for influence, S stands for steadiness, C stands for compliance. The learn phase of what I do in the practical application side is I teach people all the attributes of those 4 behavior styles. Again, how those styles communicate, how they are motivated, how they deal with things such as change, risk, and conflict, and how those styles when they exhibit those attributes, those people make decisions. So I teach people to learn the attributes of those 4 styles, and they will learn their style as well too. And traditionally, that's where most consultants stop that do assessment-based workshops or communication skills workshops. They teach people the 4 styles and what their style is, and pardon my French, they say, okay, don't let the door hit you in the butt when you leave. That's about it. What I do, I take it a few steps further. I next go into the step of reading styles. I teach people to look for certain attributes so they're reading the styles of people with whom they interact. So in a sales role, I teach my sales folks who I'm working with to read the style of their customers or their buyers so they can get an understanding of where they are versus their customer from a behavioral perspective. Leadership roles or managerial roles, I help leaders and managers understand the styles of their respective staff so they can better connect. Then the next step is adapting styles. So then once you know the style of that person you're interacting with, how are you going to adapt that style for effective communication? Then the real world side comes in is I take learn, read, and adapt into my respective client's world. If I'm working with a pharmaceutical company, it's about how they're interfacing with the office gatekeepers within that physician's office, and ultimately that physician. If it's in a managerial role, it's understanding the staff and again, aligning style and communication to the staff.
$1,000,000 question on everybody's mind.
Yes.
Right now we've got Generation Y, millions and millions and millions of people that most of us really don't understand, and I've got children in that space.
Exactly.
So tell us, will your process work with this new generation that's coming into the workforce?
Absolutely, it works perfectly actually. You know, it sounds counterintuitive because Gen Y is considered the technological age. They do everything via technology, but when you come to really understand Gen Y, they're different from maybe our generation. In the managerial role, we may have been used to the my way or the highway type of boss and had to deal with that. Gen Y will not deal with that type of approach. So Gen Y folks really like more of a collaborative environment. So away from the technological side, when you're interfacing, managing, selling to, or again, communicating with a Gen Y person, they like two-way dialogue. They like collaboration. They like more of a close-knit relationship. They don't like to be dictated to. So this process of really understanding them and adapting your style, making that connection, better interacting and better communicating with them is perfect for Gen Y.
Perfect. Well, Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
In communication is one of the most important make or breaks in any personal relationship, business relationship, or any relationships that you have in your life. So Steve, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing a few of your insights about communication.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me on Everyday Success. Hopefully your days will be more successful. Thank you.